Hey guys, Xlice here. I tested Mornye early on WuWa's Media Server for 3.0 and second half is finally here. So I'm excited to show you guys what she's got in store. You guys are familiar with Shorekeeper, right? Well, good. Mornye is now here as the Shorekeeper of 3.x. Same style of play, provides stable sustain, general support buffs, and of course incorporates the 3.x mechanic into her kit, Toon Break synergy. I'll be covering everything you need to know about her and showcasing her power at S0, including what she does, how to play, how to build, how to gear, how to team, how to Mornye. Disclaimer that things are subject to change for full release, and with that out of the way, let's get started. So first off, Mornye is fusion Broadblade with defense and regen scaling. She joins Yuan in the defense club and regen scaling like Shorekeeper. Signature weapon is mostly supportive, 77% regen, 16% defense, concerto energy when ult is used, and 20% crit damage to all resonators when she heals them. In the team, she'll be setting up first, same as Shorekeeper or Verena or any other generic sustain. So let's run through a rotation so you get the feel. Here is a no intro setup. This is what you can expect to start for any mid to end game content. 3 basics is going to give you full Forte, probably one of the fastest Forte generations I've seen, to be honest. Heavy to enter flight mode, then skill to heal in Forte bar generation, then basic until full bar. In this part, make sure to basic 3 for free 20 concerto energy from her passive, and then once you're full bar again, use heavy for the second time, and stay on the animation till you see your concerto energy fill, then ult, echo, and outro. If you do happen to cancel your heavy and ult immediately, you will lose not only the damage, but also the concerto energy. That's the most important part. I did this instinctively at first and got sad because my outro wouldn't be ready and I was a little bit confused. But then I realized that you do need to finish that heavy animation to a certain point to get that energy. If you're looking for a visual cue, wait until the laser makes contact with the enemy before ulting. Now overall, it's a fast rotation and doesn't even include the intro. Now if you do have her intro, the rotation is even faster. So when you intro in, you are immediately in flight mode. So you're just gonna skill, basic until full bar, make sure to use that basic 3, then heavy, ult, echo, and outro. With intro, you skip the first Forte generation, which is about 1 to 2 seconds save. And intro also generates nice concerto energy, so your fast rotation is completely fine. We're using echo last because it's transformative, so you just swap cancel it. Ult is used at the end of rotation, similar to most supports, since it provides useful buffs for 25 seconds, which is just enough time for your next 2 resonators if you use it at the last part of her rotation. Now, for her rotation without her intro, she has an alternative setup that involves using her skill, which is a parry. If you successfully parry, her counter completely fills her Forte from 0. The end animation is a bit stiff, so I recommend dash canceling when you see her Forte fill. This is for enemies that you know is going to lead with an attack, for which you can get an easy way to set up. For example, some bosses. Alternatively, you can use her skill, then immediately just basic to fill her Forte in a similar way to just basic attacking. I find this to be slightly slower than just spamming basic 3, but it is an option. My recommendation out of these setups is just to basic spam if you don't have intro because it's easy. If you do have intro, the rotation is the same every time. Now that rotation is covered, let's go over important details about the rest of her kit. When she enters flight mode, she generates this holographic domain around you. This heals you every 3 seconds, even if you're full HP, to guarantee her signature weapon's crit damage buff to all resonators. If you do get hit on Mornye while she's in midair, if you dodge right afterwards, it'll count as a successful dodge, 3 times per rotation. If you do take the hit and you don't dodge, she'll be knocked completely out of flight mode, which is basically soft resetting your rotation, which kind of feels bad. When she ults, this field gets upgraded. 20% defense for all resonators inside, resistance interruption, and off-tune build-up rate increase, which just means that you are able to press F more often, and 40% more healing. In flight mode, her skill is enhanced. It deals damage, heals, and gives concerto energy. Make sure to basic 3 here. Middle Forte is going to give you 20 concerto energy once per rotation when you use it. It also gives Mornye 10% regen, and her intro 20 concerto as well. These all help her complete a rotation as fast as possible, and able to outro at the end of it. Now, when you're in flight mode and your Forte bar is full, you'll do a final heavy attack. This is for concerto regen and also to marked targets. Marked targets take up to 40% more damage from all resonators on your team, scaling off of Mornye's regen. 260% regen gets you max value. Now do note that this 40% more damage does require a Toon debuffer on your team. Currently, we only have Lynae. The devs do remove this restriction on S1, so it's kind of just a way to incentivize you to play their new mechanic. Otherwise, you're going to need to invest S1 to gain the benefits everywhere. If you killed a target that's marked, don't worry. Mornye will add it to the next target you attack, even when she's off field. And then finally, her ult. So unlike Shorekeeper, there are no inherent buffs here. Instead, it's her nuke ability. With 260% regen, her ult gets free 80% crit rate and 160% crit damage. And of course, it upgrades upgrades her holographic domain for 25 seconds. Now, she does also provide a lot of supportive bonuses to the team. Top Forte gives you basically like 4 lives. You do need to use her skill to activate it, so that's why we use it when she's in flight mode. The first 3 times active resonator takes more than 30% max HP in a single hit, that damage is flat capped to 30%. And then once per 5 minutes, if the active resonator were to die, they instead don't. So yeah, you basically get 4 lives. So here's a full summary on what she gets and gives. Marked targets take 40% more damage from your entire team. S0 is going to require Lynae to debuff, and S1 should be available for all. Ult Domain is going to give you 20% defense, heals the active character, interruption resist, and 50% off-tune build-up rate. And then the top Forte node is going to give you 4 temporary lives, saving you from fatal damage. And then of course we can't forget about the outro. This is going to give 25% all damage amp. And if you do have her signature weapon, it'll be 20% crit damage to all resonators. So Forte priority is going to be kind of like based on your preference. Forte circuit is responsible for the heals. Ult is just for damage. And at S0, it's like not a crazy amount. And then skill is for a little bit more heal. Normal attack and intro are just damage, not that impactful. So overall, I would go Forte circuit, then ult skill, then normal attack intro. Next up, a sequence node breakdown before some showcases. So feel free to skip forward if you just want to see her in action. S1 is going to be the big consideration. Remember the 40% extra damage taken on marked targets? At S0, you need Lynae to apply Tune debuff for this to work. S1 eliminates this altogether, making the 40% mark apply no matter what. So if you don't plan on investing in Lynae, but do want Mornye for general team buff needs, you will need S1 to gain that bonus. S2, marked enemies now also take 32% increased crit damage from all resonators. So this adds onto the 40% extra damage, so you'll get both with S2. Off-tune build-up rate is also improved to 70% from 50%. S3, this is rotation quality of life for her flight mode. So instead of requiring 3 basic attacks and her enhanced skill for full flight mode Forte, she only needs her enhanced skill now. In terms of time save, it's pretty major, probably about 2 to 3 seconds or 1 to 2 seconds out of 12 total per rotation. So on screen, this is how her rotation is going to improve. S4 is just a healing increase. S5, 1.4x final damage to her ult and 2.6x final damage increase to her Tune rupture damage, which is that F key execute. And finally, S6, 400% more damage bonus for her ultimate and 10% max ult energy recovery every 0.2 seconds after 4 seconds out of combat. This max out to 100% or full ult energy from 0 after just 2 seconds when you're out of combat for 4 seconds. So you will gain your full ultimate every 6 seconds when she's out of combat. I'll need to test this one out, which will be on the second channel, but she should be a quick swap or a general swap demon, able to swap in, nuke, swap out, repeat, in between your other characters' rotations. However, this does not mean she's a main DPS by any means. It still requires her to be off field, and you still will need to do a general fast rotation for her own outro skill to get that 25% damage amp for all resonators. But this does give your sustain some juicy extra nuke damage on swap command. So overall, the most important sequence node you all will consider is S1. That will remove the 40% damage restriction that requires Lynae and make it usable for all teams. If you want to, S2 for 32% team-wide crit damage is also on the table if you choose to invest in S1 and want to go a little bit extra. Weapons. So of course, we've got her signature. This is 77% regen, 16% defense, 8 concerto energy on casting ult, and 20% crit damage to all resonators when healing them. This weapon has full uptime, so don't worry about it. The F2P alternative to this weapon is going to be Discord. Discord provides regen and a little concerto energy once per rotation. Now we do have things like standard Broadblade Illustrious Razor, but overall, it doesn't really give her enough regen. And then the new Lahai Royce standard Broadblade is DPS focused, so Discord is going to be your best bet. For DPS Mornye, besides her signature, I would say that Lupa's Broadblade gives her the most useful stats. She wants a liberation damage bonus because all her damage is that ultimate and crit damage. That's basically it. There's not much else besides these weapons, and most of you guys are probably going to be in the Discord gang or signature weapon. Now onto Echoes. So new set is going to be the best set. 4-piece Halo is going to give 25% attack to all resonators for 4 seconds on heal. She heals every 3 seconds, so this is perma uptime. Main Echo is going to be Reactor Husk. This is going to give her 10% regen. Now this is transformative, so use it at the end of a rotation and swap off. You can also just skip it, but it is technically free chip damage. Now, if you don't have this set yet, 4-piece Rejuvenating Glow is the staple healing set with 15% attack for all party members, so that one's gonna be fine. Our main stats, pretty straightforward. We have healing bonus or crit damage for cost. We have ER, and then Def. 4 cost main stat is going to be your preference. If you don't feel that you need that much healing, you can just run crit damage or defense for her ult to do slightly more. Her ult has a free 80% crit rate, so you only need a little bit from substats. And even though the crit rate bonus is only for ult, the rest of her kit does near 0 damage. Between crit damage or defense, this is up to your build. 4 cost either grants 44% crit damage or 42% defense, so it's an equivalent stat stick either way. Crit damage looks nicer personally, but this is really down to an optimizer, your substats, and team buffs. Alright, overall stat check for Mornye. With fixed echo stats that provide crit damage, regen, def percent on every piece, this is what we have. She's 3.5k defense, 295 regen, which is kind of huge. No crit rate needed, and 213 crit damage. Overall, this is higher end for defense and crit damage, so I don't expect you to have these substats on every piece. Tankiness is good with 20k HP and 3.5k defense. 60% regen is all you need. More is nice just to guarantee uptime. She gets 20% for free from her Forte main slot Echo, so building her is pretty simple. I would say Mornye's lowest bound stats are the easiest in the game to build. She technically only needs regen to be functional. Defense for raw heal and damage scaling if you can get it. Crit will be last priority. Okay, now for teams and showcases. So as a general sustain like Verena or Shorekeeper, she will be a staple for every generic sustain, sub DPS, and main DPS trio in the game, so there's no need for specific team breakdowns. If you are S0, Lynae will be needed for the 40% extra damage, or any future sub DPS main DPS that can inflict Tune debuff. If she's S1, she can be with anyone and provide the 40% extra damage. With 4 extra lives in her kit from her top 40 node and permanent healing every 3 seconds from her field, she allows you to play pretty aggressively even in endgame content and gives you favorable breathing windows if you do get hit and take damage. For those who enjoy this kind of lazy, cozy playstyle, she's the perfect support for unks without hands. I'm getting there, so I know how it feels. So for showcases, here's what I was personally curious about. We've got the premium team with Mornye plus Lynae and Iuno, and the damage difference when swapping Mornye with Shorekeeper. This is the current strongest team we have on Mornye's release, using Iuno as main DPS. And this will give the benchmark on the difference between these supports with Lynae to max out Mornye value. After that, what happens when Lynae is removed from the team and Mornye loses her 40% extra damage mark? Something like this. I think it's important to see this since a lot of you guys are on the fence if Mornye is worth picking up if you don't have Lynae. Now, I was originally going to use Iuno and Augusta here for consistency, but unfortunately, my test subject, the Mech Abomination, has resistance to Electro, so Augusta's damage gets reduced really heavily. Instead, I've decided to showcase Qiuyuan plus Galbrena. The idea here isn't the specific team, but rather any noticeable team rotation damage differences when using these supports. So, Mornye, Qiuyuan, and Galbrena, and then also Shorekeeper, Qiuyuan, and Galbrena. For all these teams, I'm showcasing 1 team rotation worth of damage, and Tune Break Rupture will be used for the flat damage. Everyone is on their signature weapon and their optimal Echo Set combo. Mornye is on the new 4-piece Halo, and Shorekeeper is on the 4-piece Rejuvenating Glow, their respective ideal support sets. So, first up, premium team. Here, I'm going to demonstrate using Mornye's skill to parry and lead the rotation. Full Forte bar is generated, then she heavies, and we send an enhanced skill plus 3 basic combo into a heavy. Once we see that laser hit, immediately ult, echo, and outro. Now for Lynae's usual setup.
Special delivery goes boom! Initiated. That's all you got?
So after the plunge here, we hear the sound for the Tune Break, so we set that off.
Now watch closely.
This activates Mornye's mark, so Iuno gains 40% extra damage. Now, before I continue this, here, we make sure to press F on Lynae here to activate Mornye's mark, so Iuno gets 40% extra damage. It's important to note that the mark is not always active. It will trigger when Tune Break is used, like right here, and Lynae has debuffed the enemy. S1 will still need this Tune Break to be used, which is the F key, but no longer needs Lynae to debuff.
Now watch closely.
Alright, so now Iuno can go crazy. First, properly stack 3-piece Valor to 5 stacks, then send ult for a massive...
The moon is full.
420,000 damage. Now we finish the rest of the rotation.
Foes, be my prey. Causality, assuming master control over time.
Alright, so we finished the rest of the rotation here, and the team clears about 55% of the boss's HP in 1 rotation. Pretty juicy. Alright, now we pivot to the same team, but with Shorekeeper instead of Mornye. So here, same setup as usual. SK into Lynae into Mornye. You will notice throughout this fight that we are unable to toon break at all. Without the 50% build-up rate that Mornye provides, it's much slower, and we actually cannot use it during the first rotation because the boss goes into a non-toon breakable state. So after this damage, now we're on Iuno. Notice Iuno's ult damage loss. Alright, so 5 stacks here. Getting 369k. So it's about 50,000 flat damage or about a 12% DPS loss. This can be attributed to kit differences and the 40% mark.
Ordained.
Alright, so that finishes the rotation. Based off of this, the 40% mark that Mornye has is damage bonus and not a separate multiplier. If it were a separate multiplier, it'd be too broken and Iuno would be hitting like 500,000 plus. Total boss HP at the end of this rotation sits really close to 50%. It's about 47 or so. Now for no Lynae teams. So first up, we have with Mornye. In this rotation, I've opted to lead with basic attack spam initially instead of the skill counter, just so you can see the setup difference. Don't worry about the damage difference. Mornye does basically no damage with these abilities. But yeah, it's super fast. Now we're on to Qiuyuan. Standard rotation. Ulting early so he buffs himself, then a full Forte consumption. Notice at the end here, we do hear this sound, so we're able to toon break right here. Just some extra flat damage. You'll notice that there's no toon break debuff in this team, so we don't get insane flat damage value. And also, no mark value from Mornye.
Behold.
Speak of the devil.
Now Galbrena finishes off the rotation. Notice that I'm able to play pretty aggressively with Galbrena, and Mornye's field giving resistance interruption allows me to tank abilities without breaking my attack chain. Like right there. We are missing some crits though, which is expected. Alright, so Mornye finishing the rotation. We are about 42% of the boss's HP here. Now onto the same team, but with Shorekeeper. So nothing special about this rotation. There's no toon break. We just go.
At your disposal. In war with time.
What sleeps within bamboo? Your life is mine to take. Break like bamboo. Gotcha.
Okay, so now we're on to Galbrena. You guys will notice that Galbrena's damage here is really close to the composition with Mornye, meaning that the base buffs from Mornye are able to match Shorekeeper even though we don't have the 40% damage bonus.
Hellfire. Oath from the heart.
So what you guys just saw there was slight stat value increases across the board. Mornye has a slightly stronger outro, stronger weapon buffs, and a stronger 4-piece echo bonus. They all add up to match Shorekeeper's general buffs. The boss HP here ends up at about 40%. So overall, Mornye versus Shorekeeper is pretty close in value without the extra mark damage. Personally, I kind of expected this and viewed the extra mark damage bonus and raw toon break rupture damage as the selling point for the new region. The damage difference per rotation is enough to matter, and especially for content like the new WuWa endgame, the point generation will be noticeable. So what do you guys think? My closing thoughts here, Mornye is powerful enough without her extra mark damage to be comparable to Shorekeeper, while also providing more defensive bonuses, aggressive playstyle windows, and death prevention built into her kit. If you do have Lynae already, Mornye is a no-brainer to pick up. If you don't have Lynae, either S1 or she still is a really solid and comfortable support to use S0. I do expect in the future for more characters to apply toon break debuff, so expect Mornye's future-proofness to become pretty nice, and she'll be essentially another universal support you can rely alongside SK. That's going to wrap it up for this complete guide on Mornye. Let me know in the comments what you think of the new guide style, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more. I might see some of you guys on my S0 to S6 Mornye showcase, which will release on my second channel. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time. Take care.